and welcome. I'm Kris Kendall, your host of Fulfilled After 40, the podcast. Today, I'm here with Tanisha, and we're going to be talking a little bit about her business. Hi, Tanisha. How are you?
I'm doing well, Kris. I got a lot of things on my mind.
Good, good, good. All right. Well, let's dig right in. Let's see. What would you like to talk about today?
So just a little bit of context, right? I feel like I'm making progress, if you will, on my business. So I've hit a certain revenue number that I've wanted to hit for the year. But for me, I all of my revenue has been driven by one-on-one coaching. And that's okay. But as I think about growing my business, there are a couple areas that I know I need to focus on that I keep running away from. And one is definitely being visible and building my audience and putting myself out there. And I've been through this cycle a couple times over the years of just kind of backpedaling when it comes to me having to be visible. So I want to work through that so that I'm less in my head and just moving towards action. So,
Okay. Okay. So, tell me a little bit about when you say that you need to be more visible and you tend to shy away from that. Describe a little bit about what you mean.
so for instance, marketing, sales, there are two things that are sticking points for me. Anything like that has some type of operational technical component, and then just the actual act of, let's say, leveraging social media to put myself out there. So I've identified a couple or my primary social media channel, but I have yet to post anything, partly because I don't feel ready. Like, I don't feel like I've got enough to say. I don't want to just post one thing tomorrow and then I go 7 days without posting. So part of it is I don't feel organized and have enough content. Um, and then the other side is, oh, well, I have to have something to say.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
So, what have you been doing to get your current clients? I know you've built your business over this past year and you're at a good place right now, but you want to get to the next level. So, what have you done so far?
so most of my clients have come through referral.
Okay.
Well, I've not had to formally put myself out there, if you will, either through friends of friends, either through colleagues that know that I've been coaching over the years and now know that I'm doing it full time.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's been nice in that regard, but I'm not going to be able to grow in the way that I want to without starting to really, market myself and let people know what I'm doing.
Okay. And what is the way that you want to grow? Like, what is your goal for the next year?
Yeah, good question. So I want to triple my income,
Okay.
or my revenue. And I know I can do that through two ways. One, either bring on more coaches, so create a coach agency, or create a group experience, which is the direction that I really want to take. I want to build more of a community of women, who are going through this growth and transformation journey and then can connect together.
Okay. Okay. So you mentioned you have a primary social media um, channel. What is that?
I've identified LinkedIn
Okay.
as the channel where my audience lives.
Okay. So for the existing clients that you have you been getting testimonials from them?
So I have testimonials and that are maybe like a couple years old. And now this new wave of clients I've had over the past 9 months, I am collecting testimonials as we complete our coaching engagement. So yes, I'll have testimonials to share.
Okay. So what about using those as your first pieces of content?
I plan to. I think where my head goes is but what do I just say? Hey, here's this testimonial about how great Tanisha is.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything else. Just if you know, if you make it into a graphic with the person's name and what they say and maybe their
Mhm.
picture or something like that, and just post that, like, you could come up with a simple comment of something like, it was so great working with
Mhm.
Mary on her project, or whatever the thing is, and then just post what she had to say about you.
No, I like that. That's pretty simple.
And that's a starting point, at least
It's a
something.
starting point. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think my so I'm very much a planner, and so I want to create like a content calendar, and not have it be. I need it to be very simple, otherwise I will not continue. But I think a testimonial. Well, here's how I'm thinking, and Raimi and Kris, here's how I'm thinking about it. So how can I make it simple? If I was to post 3 times a day, or excuse me, 3 times a week, every day, come up with 15 to 30 pieces of content. What if 10 of those were testimonials, and then 10 were a point of view that I have? But that's kind of how I want to build it out, of like, these are the 5 types of content that I could post,
Okay.
and then just go with it, just make it simple.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be 3 times a week. In the beginning, it can be once or twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, I'm thinking of some of the people that I follow, Rachel Rogers, for example. Like, I know around the time that she's doing an event or she's promoting a specific thing, I see a lot of posts from her. But
Mm-hmm.
like in the past month, I can't remember really seeing any.
Yeah.
So I think that it's okay to sort of space them out or group, batch them based on what is going on in your business. If you have an event coming up, if you're starting a new program, then
Mm-hmm.
you might post more often. And when you're not, less often is okay.
Yeah, I think a part of the my desire for consistency is just my need to practice the behavior, versus the audience needing to hear from me. So a part of my challenge over the next couple of months is just, I want to go just hard on just putting myself out there, no matter who I'm talking to, with no goal of a result, but just the practice, so that it
Yes.
doesn't feel like, I don't feel like Tanisha's hiding.
Yes. Good.
Um,
Okay. So an editorial calendar is
yeah.
probably your first step, right? And you can throw in all the different pieces of content that you just described. Is there anything stopping you from like getting that done over the next 2 days?
Get all the, what am I committing to in 2 days?
Just the calendar, the calendar. Looking at the next, 45 days or something.
No, I can do that.
Okay. Just laying it out. You don't have to have more than maybe 2 posts ready
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, well, that's a good start. All right. And then are there other ways that you want to, well, so in that calendar you could include like lives, for example, right? If you wanted to go live every Friday, or
Mhm.
pick a day where you just talk about something, a topic that you see coming up often with your clients, maybe.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest push. The live is even scarier than pushing content out there.
Well, when you think about like what we're doing right now,
Mhm.
this is kind of easier than creating the graphic, getting the words exactly right, playing with the font, making the colors perfect, etc. I mean, that you have to sit down and really like spend time hitting the record button and just
Yeah.
talking for 90 seconds.
Yeah, I again, with the exercise, just going live, for the sake of doing it. Again, not attached to I need to have 1,000 viewers or, you know, this person or this number of comments. So it's the action that is important. So I like that as another way to not only push me, but then also it still gets me to the objective, which is letting people know what I do.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, everybody starts with a small audience in the
Mhm.
beginning. Nobody shows up with a lot of people. So,
Yeah, and the thing is I know that, right? Like I know that with everything else. Everybody starts from zero with their their business. And yet there's still something where I just feel like I'm so behind when it comes to this audience building. Um,
why do you think that is?
because I've been here before, like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I started a newsletter, and I actually had it was kind of the perfect time to do it. I was working full time and coaching on the side, and I started this newsletter, and I sent it out weekly for about 9 months, and I had about, I don't know, 200 um, subscribers, and then I just stopped.
Do you remember why you stopped?
It wasn't intentional. I think for some reason, I may have missed a week or two, and then in my mind, it was, oh no, right, like now I'm behind. How do I pick this back up? And then, of course, you tell yourself that story long enough where months go by. It's like, oh, I can never, now I just need to just shut down the newsletter, which in hindsight, I know 3 months later, I could have still sent out the newsletter and said, hey, I'm back.
Yeah.
Or no one may or may not have noticed, but I did get a lot of those people were friends and family initially. And a lot of people would say, like, I really enjoy your newsletter. So I think I go back to, oh, if I had just kept that newsletter going, even if it was once a month, what could it be now, 9, 10 years later?
So, what could it be if you started it up again today?
Well, the way I think about it is I don't want to sit here 5 years from now and say, oh, Tanisha, you you could have sent out that newsletter, 5 years ago, and where could you be? So that is what is driving me to do something. And I know I've talked about social media now, this newsletter. For me, it's all connected because those are all things that I want to do. And then I have other ideas, right? Like a podcast that's always been on my mind. But then when I think about the hurdle of doing it, right? Like, how do I keep things simple? Right? Social media or LinkedIn, then the newsletter, then maybe the podcast later on. But because I want to do so much, sometimes it feels overwhelming, then I do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, let's talk about that a little bit more. Right now, you're at a stage where you're busy, you've got a lot going on with work, but do you have the time to commit to something like a newsletter, the social media posts, etc.?
The social media and the newsletter, yes. It's not a matter of do I have time? It is, am I going to prioritize it? And I want to, and I'm going to. I have to.
Okay. Good. So, what is your plan for a newsletter now? What are you thinking?
So I'm thinking that, right, the content on social is a means to get people to sign up for the newsletter. So going back to what happened 9 years ago, the the thing I keep thinking about is how can I make it so simple where, like, there's no failing in it. Um, so weekly probably does not does not work right now. So I do think that a monthly newsletter, 12 times a year, sounds very doable to me. And I could probably batch some content like write out a couple, maybe the first 3 newsletters, in a day or two, and just go from there.
Hmm. And would you feel comfortable inviting everybody that was previously on your newsletter to say, hey, I've got a brand new one if you're still interested or you'd like to join or
Yes, I have that list, and I have a new list that's just sitting there.
okay. All right. So that's good. That's a good plan. I like it. And it sounds like if you were able to do it for 9 months weekly, that's a lot of newsletters. So do you
Mm,
enjoy it?
that's a good call out. So I did it for 9 months every week. I did enjoy it.
Okay.
Um, I do think that I express myself better through writing. It just requires me to be in a certain state of mind, not stressed, not overwhelmed, and I don't have a lot of the space that I did back then, right before I had kids and stuff. But yeah, I mean that's a good reminder of like you actually enjoy doing this versus it's just work that you have to do as a part of your job. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are services like, I don't know if you're familiar with Substack, for example. Have you
No.
heard of this? Okay.
No.
So it's sort of like a public newsletter. And you use their system to, set up your newsletter and to mail it out. And your people can all join. Like you could do an initial push where it's free for everyone. That way your friends, family, etc., they can all join for free. But then you could, if you choose to, monetize it. So it's $3 a month or $5 a month or something to receive your newsletter. And the world, can see it and subscribe if they're interested. So that's another option too, if it's something that you enjoy. And, depending on what the content is, if it's something that, is really private or if it's, open to anybody, um, that could be a fun, motivating factor to keeping it going.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now you mentioned that you have some patterns that you tend to get into. It sounds like what are some of the things that you say that you have done in the past and you feel like you're at the point of starting to do again?
So what happens? I'm a big thinker. So the vision and the ideas are always there. What happens is I get the idea, run, full steam ahead, and then usually there's some full steam ahead, and then I create complexity. So it's like, here's the vision, and here's this beautiful way in which I can create whatever. So even just like using the newsletter, it's like I wanted to have these images and this, these components. When one of my favorite newsletters is James Clear. Are you familiar with James Clear? um he wrote a book called Atomic Habits, but anyway, he
Oh,
has
I do know the book. Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
he has like 3 pieces to his newsletter, and that's it. And he says it's like one, two, three, or something. um And I'm always looking at his like, man, this is valuable. It's so valuable. It's like a quote, a small paragraph. And so I know I'm going on a tangent
No,
here.
that's okay. That's okay.
I overcomplicate it, right? Like I feel like I have to write a dissertation. So I get stopped at the complexity. And then if there's any type of like technical stuff, um, one thing I'm now aware of is as I think about hiring a virtual assistant, I need the next person that comes in to be like high on the quick start, the execution part,
Yep.
because otherwise I'm just gonna like dance out here in vision land. So
Yep.
operations and then complexity are 2 components that I've noticed make me stall.
Okay, well, it's good that you recognize where your strengths are and
Mhm.
then the complementary strengths that you need to bring into your company because that will help you knowing that somebody else is taking care of those pieces,
Mhm.
will help you not worry about them and know that you can hand them off they'll be taken care of and you can focus on the things that you do best.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that that's good. Okay. All right. Um, so let's see, what other things do you want to talk about on that end? And then I also want to make sure we talk a little bit about your offer, your moving to group and potentially hiring additional coaches into your business.
Mhm. I'll just say that something that I just wrote down for myself was, as I was talking and I mentioned James Clear, I'm like, I need to channel my inner James Clear, uh, because I think he's had one of the most successful newsletters, and it's the simplest. There's no image, right? Like how can I shift my focus on value? What does the audience really value? Make it simple. Um, and that be the recipe. So I just wrote down, like, how can I channel my inner James Clear, and then how can I bring more joy to writing, to your point. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to share those two.
Okay. And I'm going to check out his newsletter because I really loved the book and I talked about it for months with anybody who would listen to me, right after. So I'm going to have to go back to that. Do you still have access to your old newsletters?
No, I don't know, because MailChimp booted me out because I hadn't logged in years.
Yeah. I
But I
wonder if in your
probably could find
email,
an email, maybe.
yeah, only because I'm thinking if you go through and kind of reread some of them and maybe pick out if there are a couple types of things that you tended to talk about that you think are the most valuable and you want to make sure you bring those into the new one or consider how they fit into your life and business now. And then there might be some things that you remember being like, oh, that part was always such a pain. That took me the longest to write. That was, cumbersome, or I always had to do research or think about it or whatever it is. And maybe just take that off.
I love that. I mean, I wonder if I can find them in my own inbox, and I'd love to read through them. That's a great idea. Yeah.
Right, good, good. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your offer. So right now you're doing one-on-one coaching.
Yes.
Okay. And do you love it? Is that your favorite or?
I do love it. I really enjoy it. I say that I often get so energized at the end of my coaching sessions, probably more than my clients, because they have to then go do the work. Uh, and what I'm noticing between month 1 and month 9 of running the business is I'm starting to reach my cap in terms of my own capacity. So the the story that I'm trying to not rewrite is, like, a year and a half ago, I left my job due to burnout. So what I know is I default to, like, um, my own efforts, and I can't do that anymore if I want to grow. So I don't want to just keep adding more clients, which just means I'm just coaching more hours. I want to find a way to have impact and still manage my health and not just work 80 hours a week just to make more money.
Yes. Okay. So the one thing I'll say about that is what I have found in my businesses is that when I get to the point of capacity, when I start approaching it,
Mm-hmm.
I usually have to raise my prices, right? That means a few will fall off and the few that stay recognize the value and are willing to pay more for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Are you at the stage where you feel comfortable bumping everybody up?
I am.
Okay.
I've just done that with the last two um, new clients that I onboarded, and I've gotten good at not just saying no, but when a client says no or that's too much, leaving it at that versus trying to come up with, like, some type of discount.
Right.
So
Good.
I think you're right. That's an important one to name.
Okay. All right. Okay, so then let's talk about what are the other options since you can't, do 80 hours a week by yourself. What are some options to continue to grow your business without growing your work hours?
So I mentioned the agency, so I could bring in another coach. And I've thought about thought about that in different forms. What I realize though is, and I need to kind of prove this hypothesis, um, is right. Like my clients select me because of me. And sometimes it's not just an automatic, okay, you want coaching, we've had a great chemistry conversation, but now I'm going to put you with someone else. So I just have to think through that process around like, what does the screening look like? Maybe first assessing clients' readiness for coaching, and then having, oh, I like this. I'm just talking this out too. But like normally I tell people when they come to me, you should talk to 2 or 3 other coaches because you want to understand what's different, and then you select the one you want. But maybe the selection is within my own ecosystem. And then whether they choose me or another coach on my team, it still supports my business.
Yeah, I love that.
And I like it too.
Good. Yeah. And it stays within your ecosphere. So that's perfect.
So that's one. That feels like the easiest. It doesn't feel like, so if you don't know this about me, Kris, like I'm always going for like, how can I push myself versus just comfort? So shifting to a group model or building a community is really where the big vision is for me. It just feels like I need to have the audience first. It feels like a big leap between where I'm at now and then just launching a community.
Okay. So you mentioned that when you're talking to some clients and they say like your prices are too high or they can't afford it or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
would moving them or offering either a group or community program be an option, a lower cost option? I don't know what your pricing is like.
Yes. Yeah. The group, I don't have a group experience built yet. I've been sketching that out. I think a membership serves a slightly different purpose. So I had to think about that. Like, yes, it's lower price, but that doesn't mean that's the right solution for
Mhm.
certain people. So there are clients that I would say no, like no to, even on the membership side, just because there's some work that they need to do before just like, let's say, plopping them in a membership group where they have less like hands-on support. But I haven't really designed the membership experience quite yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Um, and um, is there any like kind of a like I want to say graduation, but it's more of like a succession plan with your clients. Like when they get to a certain point
Mhm.
where maybe they don't need the one-on-one as much or as often. Have you run across that yet? Where at that point they might be ready to do the next thing?
Yes, I don't know. So here's part of my challenge. I don't know what the next thing is. So usually if I'm coaching with someone for 6 months, 6 months is usually the sweet spot where there's behavior change, things are ingrained and they're ready, like they're feeling elevated to kind of move on and tackle. Um, because I've been doing more life and executive coaching. I'm considering adding on business coaching as well. And so there are a portion of people that want to self-select into entrepreneurship or starting their own business in some way that could launch into another offer. Um, for those that are within a company, I don't know that I've really thought about what their next steps are or ways that they could get support, but I can put that in my end of coaching survey or our closing session to say, okay, we worked through here. Where do you think you would need additional support or what would you love to see?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that that's a great idea and a great way to kind of do a little bit of market research and decide what feels right to you.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So are there any other things that you want to talk about? Any other blocks or challenges you're experiencing right now?
No, I feel like we've covered a lot. I'm looking at my notes. I'm actually excited because just talking to you helped me get a little bit clearer on, all right, here are something. I have like 5 or 6 categories of things, and it does not feel overwhelming. Like it feels simple, it feels aligned, versus when I came in, I was just like, I don't know, so much to do. How am I gonna get this done? So thank you for that.
Excellent. Okay, good. Well, great. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to see, excuse me, what you decide to do next. And it sounds like you've got some fun projects potentially in the works that could be really good for growing your business in an authentic way that feels natural and fun.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. The journey is the part people always are very clear on like where they're going, but the journey is actually the fun part. So I'm trying to remember to like stay in the process. I should be having fun as I'm thinking about the membership or whatever this looks like. So the I feel very energized about the next steps.
Excellent. Good. All right. Well, thank you, Tanisha, so much for joining today. It's been really great talking to you, and I look forward to the next time we talk to hear what's going on with you.
Yeah, thank you, Kris.
All right. Well, that was another great episode. It was really fun to talk to Tanisha. She's got a great business going that she's been building, and it sounds like she's at that stage of needing to kind of scale a little bit and all the challenges that come with that. So I can completely relate to that, and I'm sure lots of other people can too. So um, it's exciting to see some of the things that she has planned and will be rolling out soon. So thank you again. If you would like to be a guest on Fulfilled After 40, the podcast, just visit the website. There's a form there, an application form. And if you are ready to just jump into some one-on-one coaching, I've got a few packages available as well. Also, I want to remind you that there is a few spots available for my 2-day intensive. This is me going to your location, whatever city in the country in the US that you would like to meet me in. We'll work together for 2 full days, so 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. On 2 consecutive days, and we'll just bust through everything that you need to do. So whether that's life, relationship, money stuff, we'll figure it all out. If it's business stuff and you're at a point where you need some help to get to that next level, we'll just sit down and do it. If you're brand new, if you just have an idea of a business but aren't really sure where to start, we'll start. We'll get your website done. We'll do everything that needs to happen to get you moving in that direction. So those are available at fulfilledafter40.com/intensive. There's not a link, so you need to write that down and visit the site to find it. To get the special discount pricing that I have at the moment. Otherwise, you will find it on the coaching page at the full price. So I hope you take advantage of that if that's interesting to you. And I look forward to talking to you next week.